way that it feels like we are never getting out of this pandemonium, Panda Express, Petunia, Prego pasta sauce. It's just... So if you've been paying attention to anything online, like if you've spent at least 1 second on social media in the past week, you will see, mostly yesterday, I think, a lot of people got their jokes off about the CDC. Like, it was just memes everywhere. And they deserved getting dragged. They did. I just think that what I'm about to talk about, it just ties into everything that I've been discussing in my past videos. Like, yes, we do have personal responsibilities when it comes to like how we're handling this crisis, how we're dealing with this pandemic, but the idiocy and the greed that is just leaking out of the government, I just don't think that should be ignored at all. I think we should talk about it, and I think we should just annoy the shit out of them. It just should not be swept under the rug at all, in my opinion. So yeah, so the CDC received a whole lot of flack for a decision that they made. I want to walk y'all through the shit and why a lot of people were just dragging. They were dragging their ass, right? Because at this point, the CDC seems like it stands for the Centers for Dumbass Fucking Choices. Like, it's just ridiculous at this point. So let's start it out. So right now, we already know where we're at. Amid a record-breaking surge, the United States is now averaging more COVID-19 cases per day than at any other point in the pandemic, according to new data from the CDC, right? And like I said in the past, I think it is so vital that we have the same, magnifying glass on this fucking administration that y'all did for Donald Trump. The highest point that we ever had in the entire pandemic, that's where we at right now. And there are people who are still shaking in their boots anytime you dare criticize Joe Biden ass. I don't understand it, but that's the type of mentality that keeps us stuck in bullshit. While Biden was over here on Twitter bragging about the damn economy, I'm just like, wow. It's the greatest. This is over the last 11 months, we've added nearly 6 million jobs. I wanted to ask his ass, like, okay, how many of those pay a living wage? You know what I mean? It's just, we could get into all of that shit. But while he was over here bragging about the economy and Omarion is dancing on our heads, it's dancing on our head top. Y'all already know Omarion, like I said, he's literally hitting an 8 count. Hitting an 8 count on our scalps, right? So while he's doing that, this is what the White House tweeted. Omarion cases are on the rise, but it's clear that vaccines and boosters are making a difference. Vaccines and boosters help prevent severe illness and death. If you haven't already, go get your vaccine and booster. And of course, that is true, right? Like, vaccines and boosters are obviously helping. But if you take a closer look at this graph, let's look at this graph, all right? But if you look over it, I'm wondering why this y-axis is how it is. It's just 2,000 motherfucking over 2,000 deaths a goddamn day. And it's just that y-axis, girl. Why is it starting at 2.1K and not 0? The y-axis, that's why I should name this video the y-axis, bitch. Y'all trying to make this shit seem like it's sweeter than it actually is, and it's fucking not. That's the first thing. So we already headed into weird ass fucking territory. The CDC said, hey, guess what, guys? We know that we said that, 10 days of isolation once you get a positive result is what needs to happen. You need to quarantine your ass for 10 days, but girl, we're cutting that hoe down to 5. They said we're cutting that hoe down to 5. You get a positive test result, it's okay, girl. Now, what they tried to, I guess, make it sound a little sweet is that, if it's asymptomatic, that's when you can cut the quarantine days in half and take your ass on anywhere you want to go, sweetie. But most importantly, take your ass to fucking work, right? Or at least, they didn't say that shit, but that's what I gathered, and I'm gonna tell you why it was very obvious already, but I'm gonna tell you why it's even more obvious as we continue with this topic. So obviously everyone's just like, okay, that's not the way science fucking works. You cannot build platforms off of belief science, except when it comes to getting bitches back into work and trying to make money. Like, you cannot, what do you, coming from Newsweek. A letter from the CEO of Delta Airlines to the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, urging the agency to reduce the isolation period for those who test positive for COVID-19, has resurfaced online following the agency's new advice this week. In the letter to Dr. Rochelle Walensky, dated December 21st, Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian joined the airline's Chief Health Officer Henry Ting and medical advisor Carlos Del Rio in calling for the isolation period to be reduced from 10 days to just 5. Then, 6 days later, the CDC issued new advice saying that those who tested positive for COVID-19 but who were asymptomatic should now isolate for 5 days instead of 10. And my personal question is, did the coronavirus get that memo as well? Did Miss Omarion, was Omarion receiving this notice as well that, you know, because you hoes want these bitches to go back to work, did Omarion say, you know what, actually, I'm gonna just alter my genetic makeup, I'm gonna alter it so that I'm not gonna press these hoes for 14 days no more, 10 days no more, I'm gonna press these hoes just for 5. Since the US government say, hey, guess what, you know, can you ease up a little bit? Did y'all speak directly to the virus? I want to know if they shrunk down a megaphone to the size of maybe a nanometer or some shit, and they were able to speak to the virus. They isolated the virus, maybe in a petri dish or something, and they shrunk down. They used fucking Ant-Man's technology to shrink down a microphone or, you know, a speaker, megaphone or something like that, and they were able to speak directly to the virus and say, hey, guess what? We want these girls to come back into work. So can you just ease up on the fuck 10 days, 10 to 14 days? We're not really feeling that shit. Can you bring that shit back to 5 days? And the virus was just like, I don't know how viruses speak, how they speak, bitch. I don't know how they speak, but somehow they were able to interpret what the virus said, and they came to an agreement, bitch. I ain't never heard of a country, I ain't never heard of a government create a treaty between itself and a fucking virus. So that can't be a coincidence that these motherfucking big ass airlines or whatever the fuck these companies are saying, calling up the CDC like, girl, you need to figure something out. You need to figure something out. That can't be a fucking coincidence, right? But if you wanted even more, I guess, proof or explanation, this is coming directly from Dr. Fauci's mouth. He was talking to CNN. He said the reason is that with the sheer volume of new cases that we are having and that we expect to continue with Omicron, one of the things we want to be careful of is that we don't have so many people out. And of course, he's talking about out of fucking work. He said, I mean, obviously, if you have symptoms, you should be out. But if you are asymptomatic and you are infected, we want to get people back to jobs, particularly those with essential jobs, to keep our society running smoothly. And why all of that shit sounds so fucking stupid to me is because I'm never gonna stop showing you this fucking tweet. Look at this tweet. I'm proposing $2,000 of monthly payments throughout the pandemic and for 3 months after, because rent and bills are still due during this crisis and people are going hungry. It's that basic. It's that basic. Yeah, you giving me basic. You giving me basic. Yeah, you giving me basic. Because, like I said, people, at this point, they need to go to work. They need to be out. They need to be on the street. They need to be out. They need to go to work. They have to get shit done. They have to pay their bills. They have to do this shit. So it's just like if in the beginning when this shit started, they actually shut this shit down and actually did the shit that they were saying, we wouldn't have had so many fucking variants. Paying people to stay home, people would be excited to do that shit. But it's just like, you're not doing that. You don't want to pay people to fucking stay home. It's like pulling teeth to get tests from motherfuckers from the government. Clear-cut solutions. And instead of doing those things that could easily solve those problems, you say, hell no, bitch, take your ass to work. That's what you said. I mean, they're even spending money to put this shit out. This was apparently an ad on Facebook. I'm not letting COVID-19 take my shifts. And it's like, obviously, like I said, you want people to get vaccinated. So pushing for that is necessary. It should happen, obviously. But to know that there's so many pathways that we could have taken, that we should, that the government could have taken, and this is what they're doing. They're just literally throwing everybody under the fucking bus. Like, it's fucking pathetic. And not only that, and I'll end with this, you cannot, I mentioned it earlier, you cannot be shitting on conservatives talking about, oh, well, believe the science, y'all need to trust the vaccine, y'all need to trust this, the CDC and all this shit, the actual evidence and the science and the research and shit. You can't be doing that shit, but then y'all don't do this shit either. They have already been dragging the CDC when it came to credibility and shit, and this shit doesn't help at all. So how you gonna look in conservatives' faces talking about, oh, well, why don't you believe the CDC? Bitch, the CDC's taking orders from corporate America, not science, ho. So, like, it sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Anyway, y'all, I saw that shit going on Wednesday. I was like, I need to at least just get the shit off my chest. It's clowns. It's clowns everywhere. It's clowns everywhere. And it ain't even no ringmaster nowhere, bitch. We're screwed, like Janelle Monáe say. On that note, I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you check me out on patreon.com/AdrianExpression. And make sure that you also have a good goddamn evening.
Give me your wig.